It reminds me of like the 70s in America. Come here for the women. You definitely live on $1,000 a month, but I wouldn't call it living like a king.
Hi, please tell us your name and where you're from.
Hey, my name's Howard Everett, and I've lived all over the United States, but my childhood was split between a cattle ranch in Hockley, Texas, which is right outside of Houston, and then a suburb of New York City in North Jersey in a beautiful little town called Maplewood, New Jersey.
And what brings you down here to the Philippines?
I moved here about a year and a half ago. I would have come earlier, but just COVID complications made it very difficult to visit till about a year and a half ago. And then once I came, I'd been here several times before. I started coming in the 90s, and out of 38 countries I've been to, this is my favorite one. So I found a cool place to live in a city called Cebu. It's the second largest city in the Philippines. And then eventually my girlfriend and I got married, and we moved to this beautiful town called Iloilo, which is where we live now.
Tell me about the Philippines. What do you like about this country?
I think, mostly the people, just very sort of soft-spoken, considerate, polite people. They say sir and ma'am. It reminds me of like the 70s in America, where young people had respect for older people, and I don't know. I like the vibe here. I like the people here, and like in any other culture, there's problems. There's poverty. There's some crime, although not very much here, and so you certainly need to keep your wits about you and keep your head on a swivel. Be careful, but generally speaking, this is probably the safest place I've ever lived. Unless China attacks, then it's not going to be safe. But it's just a cool place. I like Filipino food a lot, and my wife is a really good cook, and we travel a lot, and we see different parts of Asia and different islands here in the Philippines. There's 1,100 inhabited islands, and then another 6,000 islands with no people living on them here in the Philippines. So
I've always heard the 7,000 figure, but now it's a lot better knowing how many you can actually live in.
Yeah. You have to choose between only 1,100 to live.
Only.
But, yeah.
Any dislikes so far in this place?
Yeah, like in some restaurants, the customer service is bafflingly bad. And one of my local friends here, he was like, look, these people get paid less than $1 an hour. They work 10 hours a day. They take home, $8.50 for the whole day. Yeah. And he said, it's hard to motivate people for $1 an hour when they have internet and television and see how people in the West live. And so if you do find a place with really good customer service, it's worth tipping and going back a lot. And so that's kind of, my wife and I are always just searching for a place that has good food and great customer service. And when we do find that gem, we give them a lot of business.
Your wife, is she Filipina?
Yeah, she's from an island called Cebu.
Okay.
Which the city of Cebu it's pretty big. It's a big metro area, a lot of congestion. So when we first got married, we lived there. But I just hated the traffic. It's kind of like Manila. I love to visit Manila, but I would not want to live in Manila. And here, there's hardly any traffic. There's almost no crime. And this is the cleanest city I've seen, like in Asia, not just in the Philippines. But
wow.
I mean, if you've been up and down the streets, it's super clean here.
I really haven't seen much trash at all.
Almost nothing. Yeah, they really take pride in it here. I don't know if that's a government decision or just the culture of Ilonggos, the tribe of people that populate this island. They speak Ilonggo, and just cool people.
Yeah, I think it's a good sign that can be done here, right? A lot of people, obviously blame the typhoon and education or some kind of background, but it seems like if people want to do it and there's actual support for it from the government, it can be accomplished.
I have no idea why on one island it's filthy and on one island it's moderately clean, and then here in Panay it's really clean. But if you come to the Philippines, like a lot of my friends who live in Manila, they want to go to one casino one night and one nightclub the next night, and they want to date, different girls every weekend. And so Manila's a great place for them, but they have to step over garbage and rats and homeless people to get to all the fancy restaurants and clubs. And so, like I said, I love to go there for a week, but I would not want to live in Manila.
Okay, and you talked about dating and your wife. How did you meet her?
We actually met through a kind of an introduction service, like a matchmaker, I guess you'd call it.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I filled out a sort of a survey of what I'm interested in, what I prefer, what I wouldn't put up with, and then out of 2,000 women on just one island, they had about 15 that met all of my criteria, and then out of those 15, I picked the 8 most attractive ones, and I just went on one date at a time, and then my wife was the 4th date.
Is this the first Filipino you've dated, or?
Yeah, officially, yeah.
Officially, okay.
Yeah.
And is it true, is there a big difference dating in the West compared to the Philippines? A lot of guys come here for the women.
Yes, come here for the women. If you're divorced or single or striking out big time back in Germany or America or Australia, the main reason you should come to the Philippines is not just beautiful women, but beautiful women who are sweet. My wife asked me once, she said, what's your favorite thing about me? And I said, this is going to sound funny because you're good looking, sexy, sharp dresser, hardworking, all these great attributes. I said, well, my favorite thing about you is that you make me coffee every day. and I've never said, hey, I need you to make me some coffee. But like when I go to the kitchen, she'll say, oh, do you want coffee? Sit down, I'll bring it to you. And that mentality is almost unheard of in the West. And it's every day. I get a couple of cups of coffee brought to me, and I still can't get over it. I mean, we've been together for over a year. So what is that, 800 cups of coffee I've had? And like every day I feel like overwhelmed and grateful to have someone who, not only finds me attractive and respects me, and I think very much actually loves me, but is also willing to play like a traditional female role. And I don't have any. If bad guys come, I don't mind being the protector. I love being the provider for a respectful and beautiful woman. So I've always been the protector and the provider in every relationship I've had, but I've never had anyone really play a traditional female role. I've never experienced this, and it is magic.
I hear you, man. Even though it's a small actual, thing, but it makes a big difference because it shows her mindset.
It's the attitude, yeah.
Exactly. Okay, are there a lot of expats and community in Iloilo?
No. Like if you're in Manila or Cebu, it's packed with expats. There's a city south of Cebu called Dumaguete. It seems like you can't turn a corner there without running into someone from America or Australia. And I like Dumaguete. I understand why people live there. It's a really beautiful place, but it's just too Western for my taste. Like I didn't come here to be with people from the West. I came here to, so I love my, friends from Canada, and I have several other friends from Texas here in Iloilo, but there's very few expats here in this town, and they're welcome to come. If I was moving to the Philippines today, I would go to Siargao, Bohol, I would go to Iloilo, and then I would go to Palawan. I would check out El Nido. I'd travel to 5 or 6 popular places and find the one I like the best. But of all the places I've been, and I've been to over 20 cities now, Iloilo is by far the best.
Okay, and are you retired? Are you working? How are you making a living living in the Philippines? Huh?
I could retire. One of my best friends started a nonprofit in Nashville like about 10 years ago, and several years ago I started working for them, James, plus the whole crew. And basically, it's a gospel Christian ministry that does really amazing work around the world. And so, we might have a school in Malaysia and an orphanage in Africa and a church in Philippines. I mean, there's different expressions of that Christian value. It's basically each individual missionary that we support does whatever they feel called to do. And it's the reason I love my organization so much. It's called Blazing Trees, and there's no control. Like, we don't boss people around. We just let people do what they feel like they're supposed to do to help humanity. And everything's Christian based, but it's I don't know. It's a very unique organization, and so I probably work about 10 hours a week, and I love them. Like I do it primarily just because I love James and the group of men and women around the world that are just serving their neighbors, loving their neighbors.
Got you. And what do you think of this notion that you could live in the Philippines like a king for $1,000 a month?
Uh, I've seen those videos and I always kind of laugh. Like, I mean, if I gave you a tour of my house, it's a big, beautiful 3-bedroom house with a giant gate, and then you have to go through a guarded gate to get into this neighborhood. And so it's, yeah, it would be considered an exclusive neighborhood back in San Diego or Las Vegas. But, my rent here is about $500 a month. But you can also go get a small, studio condo right by the mall for $500 a month. And so, you got to find your deals. My wife and I live pretty good life on about $2,000, maybe $2,200 a month. And so a single person who shared an apartment, like if 3 guys got a 3-bedroom apartment and they each just had their own bedroom, they could probably get away with $1,000 a month. If you live like a Filipino, like if you live in a really cheap rental place in a rough part of town and only eat local food and eat a lot of rice to stay full, you could definitely live on $1,000 a month. But I wouldn't call it living like a king.
Yeah, I don't know many kings sharing bedrooms. Right?
Yeah. So, when I met my wife, hard worker, she had been to several different countries, and when she came back here during COVID, the best job she could get was at a call center working for an American phone company. I think it was Sprint, I believe. And so anyway, she had this call center job, and she made enough money to live a good life and help her parents out, which is part of the sort of traditional values of the Philippines. Instead of parents helping their kids grow up, get jobs, and help their parents here. And so, she was living a very successful life, but she didn't have an apartment. She had basically a dorm room in a boarding house for women in Cebu. And it was nice. She had a nice room, but she shared a bathroom. And, it was secure, it was safe. But I wouldn't, if I was in my 30s, I wouldn't want to have a bedroom and share a bathroom and all that. And so, like the average Filipino lives pretty modestly.
Okay, and what's like an expectation? A lot of guys, like this is something that many people would think is doable, living like a king for $1,000. What was something for you that you were expecting that wasn't quite reality when you got here?
Well, I never planned on living on $1,000. Okay. My budget in Vegas was $6,000 a month, and I figured that I would, save a lot of money if I came here. I am surprised that I can live well with a wife for $2,000 a month. That's to me pretty shocking. And like I said, we live in a beautiful house. We get driven everywhere. We eat out all the time. I'm kind of a Starbucks, not the coffee. Coffee's coffee. I like instant coffee.
Yeah.
But the pastries, I have an addiction to the Starbucks cinnamon pastries. And so, we're out and about. We eat at restaurants. We get food delivered here. I love, there's a fast food here called Jollibee's. I think I might be part Filipino because I love Jollibee's chicken. It's just kind of like Southern fried chicken, but they always serve it with hot gravy, and it's pretty good. Instead of mashed potatoes like you would get at home, it's served with white rice.
Okay.
But it's just fantastic. And then, so, the idea that you can come here and live on $1,000 a month, absolutely true. But you're not, in my opinion, living like a great life. You're getting by. You can't have a job in the Philippines unless you're Filipino. You could probably get a black market illegal job, but now you're taking the risk of being deported. Most people stay here for pretty long periods of time on extended tourist visas. And I'm married, so I get what's called a balikbayan visa. It's good for 1 year at a time. And if I wanted to make a deposit of, I think, $15,000 in a bank account here in the Philippines, I could get a retirement visa. But since I'm married, 12 months at a time is fine.
Yeah.
And honestly, if they ever kicked me out, I'd be just as happy in Malaysia or Vietnam or Uruguay or Greece. I mean, I like to travel anyway, so I probably will stay in the Philippines the rest of my life. But my guess is that my wife and I'll be in a different country a fourth to half that time.
Got you. Do you think you'll ever, like you just said, you're gonna live here? you think you ever go back to the U.S.? For, like,
I go back to play poker in Vegas. I go back to see family. My aunt, who's 80, lives in Asheville, North Carolina. I really love her. My brother, who I love, is in Texas. I don't like going back to Houston because that's where I grew up and my childhood was not super good. And so, you know, every time I'm in the States, I always tell my brother to come meet me where I am. And I actually hope, he's a retired Navy guy, I hope he moves to Manila.
Okay.
He needs the VA. There's a VA hospital in Manila. And so if he moved to Manila, he could go see the doctor whenever he wanted to. And then, you know, it's an hour flight from here to there. So I could go see him, you know, several times a year. It'd be really cool to actually see each other.
You think that's the reason why a lot of Americans show interest in the Philippines, the VA program here?
No, I think most people come here because it's cheap and there's beautiful women that, I mean, honestly, I don't know why Filipino women like foreigners, you know, American men. They call us AFAM, A-F-A-M. So, you know, it's like a status symbol to have an AFAM husband or an AFAM boyfriend. So I'm sure it's complex, but generally speaking, especially with the age gaps that you see all over the place, you know, there's an economic component to it. You know, if you grow up poor and you realize, hey, if I marry an older white guy, I'm going to be relatively rich compared to my family, then that guy will be able to help my family, which is almost always happens to some degree, depending on what kind of boundaries the Westerner has. And then, you know, and then the girl knows she can travel. And if they do have a baby, it's going to be a gorgeous, you know, 50-50 baby. And so, yeah, what's really cool is, like, you know, Arabic guys and black guys and Hispanic guys and white guys from the West, they all come here and do really well with beautiful girls. Like,
everybody got a chance, right?
Everybody has a chance here. I have this friend back in America. He's in his 60s. He is not a super handsome guy. And I mean, to be honest with you, he kind of dresses a little dorky. You know, he looks like a chubby Indiana Jones. Love this guy. And he has never been married. Can't find a good Christian woman that he can trust. Whatever. He's got this sad story. And I am so tempted to just tell him to come visit me. And if he came here for 3 weeks, I guarantee you I'd have him on 6 dates with beautiful women, all of whom would be interested in him, but not necessarily because he's Prince Charming or the best looking guy in the world, but because if he's from the West, he can provide well, not just for her, but for her family. And so, yeah, the advantage is amazing.
It's an equal exchange, right? I feel like a lot of guys have to be reminded that, yeah, you can, you know, get some of these beautiful women, but there's a reason probably, right? They're interested in you, right? The U.S. dollar probably goes a lot further than local currency. And I think sometimes you hear a lot of complaints, I mean, from the Facebook groups and other stuff at least, oh, this money issues and all that. For me, it's like a reminding people, hey, yeah, there's a reason why someone might be interested in you. There's a lot of it to do with finances.
Well, God made humans to be a certain way, and human nature is one of the strongest forces in the universe. And so, in the same way that every man is attracted to beauty, every woman is attracted to security. And so, yeah, I've met women, including my mom. My mom was a scientist and made really good money. She didn't need a man financially, but she still got married several times, you know, just because she didn't want to be alone. And so there's all these things that factor into people's decision-making process. But for, I'm going to say 95% of the women on this planet, the idea that you can be secure and not have to worry about food and shelter and medicine and travel and extras and presents for mom and dad and all that stuff, that's big. And so a lot of the hardest working Filipino guys in the world don't make more than like $100 a week. You know, some guy does construction 50 hours a week and he makes $2 an hour, which is pretty good pay here actually. It's twice what he would make working at 7-Eleven. And so I met a girl the other day. She's actually a therapist. Fantastic. I mean, the treatment I received was as good as anything I've ever had in America or Europe. And I said, hey, I'm just curious, how much do you make? And she goes, per treatment? I said, no, like in a month. She goes, oh, I make 15,000 pesos. So I got my calculator out. It was $275. I said, well, how many days a week do you work? She goes, I work 6 days a week, 8 to 10 hours a day. So here's this girl working 55 to 60 hours a week, right? So that's 220 hours a month minimum, making less than $300 a month.
Crazy, right?
Yeah. So she's working her brains out, but she's a single mom with 2 beautiful children. And so, you know, my wife and I always, you know, we want to help everyone we can. And so, you know, I've literally thought about hiring her full time,
Yeah.
just setting her up a location here at my house, and then having all of my friends come over here and get their treatment, and they could just tip her.
Yeah.
You know, and she'd make way more than she's ever made and work way less hours. But, you know, I'm not sure if I want to have the responsibility of employees here. But I mean, that mentality, like how much you can help someone with a very little bit amount of money. Like I spend $300 a month
Starbucks probably
on beer. Yeah, like if I go to a bar 3 times and bring a couple of friends and I pay,
Yeah.
I'm spending $300 a month on Guinness back home.
Okay.
Easily on coffee and Danishes. Easily. I mean, if you followed me around America, every time I went to Dunkin' Donuts or Starbucks and just added it up, that has to be $300 a month.
Sure. Okay, and lastly, any advice for anyone wanting to come to the Philippines for retirement, for women, for anything? What would you tell them?
I would say come check it out. Like come for 3 weeks to a month. Visit more than one city. Like I honestly think everyone should go to Manila, because if you really prefer a big city, it's an awesome big city. There's a neighborhood. I have a friend that lives in a place called BGC. It's amazing if you don't leave BGC. Like if you just stay in BGC, it's paradise. But you know, I think most Americans should check out Dumaguete, because especially when you first come here, it's actually a great place because there's lots of Americans, and they're really cool. Like when I was there, all the people that I met, they were like, hey, if you guys move here, we'll help you out, we'll find you a place to live. Like it was kind of a team. It was really nice. I love this island I'm on. It's called Pinay, P-I-N-A-Y, and there's several really cool places here. The biggest city is Iloilo, and if you take a ferry from Iloilo right across the water, there's another pretty major city called Bacolod, and it's also amazing. I've heard that the food is better in Bacolod, like barbecue and stuff. And so, you know, if you come here, come for 3 or 4 weeks, check out a couple of beach resorts, check out a couple of towns and cities, go diving, you know, go on some dates, and then go home and think about it. And, you know, after my first visit here, I thought, man, I would like to live there. And after my second visit here, I thought, man, I should live there. And after my third visit here, I thought, why would I live anywhere else?
Gotcha. Well, thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man, it's great to meet you.
You as well. And that was Howard. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think of his experience and his opinion that you cannot live here for $1,000 like a king. And if you're new to the channel, take a second, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I gotta get back home. The sun is setting. I'm completely out of my element right now in some random streets, but I wanted to make this video. So yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.